Welcome back. And right now, Anthony is going to talk a little bit on the difference between Hades and Gehenna, and then the difference in the two resurrections as well.
Yes. All right, good. Hades, the Greek word Hades, is a Greek New Testament word, and it's equivalent to the Old Testament Hebrew word, which is Sheol, Sheol. This is the place where all of the dead, the good and the bad, go automatically at death. Everybody goes to Sheol in the Hebrew Bible, and everybody goes to Hades in the New Testament Greek Bible. The only way out of that dismal condition, which is silence and non activity, the only escape from that condition is by resurrection, and that has happened only to Jesus so far. People have been resuscitated. Lazarus came alive for how long, I don't know, after being dead for 4 days. That's amazing. In the book of Acts, it was Dorcas, was there not, who came alive by being resuscitated by Peter. That was a tremendous miracle. But she did not gain the life of the age to come. She did not gain immortality. Only Jesus has so far gained immortality. All right, with that in mind, then, Sheol is the place where all the dead are. Hades is the equivalent. Now, what then is Gehenna? It's a very unfortunate thing. In our Bibles, two completely different words, Gehenna and Sheol, have been translated, both of them, by the word hell. It's hard to imagine a greater confusion, but don't forget that the devil is the author of confusion. So you must have your concordances out. You must use the many resources online to see that Gehenna is hellfire. Hellfire. Gehenna probably means the valley of Hinnom, and it was a place where they burned stuff up. I'm told that's what it was. So people would see a place of destruction. So I want to say this plainly: Gehenna, hellfire, hell in the bad sense, is nothing to do with the hell in which you go when you're dead. In your King James Bible, that's very confusing. Don't recommend you use the King James Bible at all, unless it's the only one you happen to have. Use the New American Standard Updated Version or the RSV or the RV, much clearer, because there are errors in the King James which are misleading. So, having said that, it's quite clear that Hades is where all the dead are, only escape from that dismal, dark, active, inactive place where everybody does nothing. The only escape is by resurrection. And Gehenna is a place of destruction, also called hell in your King James Bible. It means hell fire. Gehenna is the ultimate destruction of the incorrigibly wicked. Everybody gets a chance to obey God and to succeed. But if there are some who are so stubborn, so wicked, they refuse forever, or they start well and then they fail and they don't come back, then their only fate would be to be burned up. I stress burned up, destroyed in Gehenna. Jesus spoke quite a bit about Gehenna and he warned against it as a place of destruction from which I think there is no return. There's no resurrection from Gehenna. You're simply burned up, and that's a terrible, unspeakably awful fate that all of us should fear, obviously. And Jesus spoke about that quite often. So I think we've laid out the foundation. If you look at that booklet, What Happens When We Die, free online at our Focus on the Kingdom, several languages. And I've also read that aloud. If you want it on a podcast, it's all alive to be listened to in your car. If you want to, I think it's there at our podcast. So I've read all of the stuff that I've written on this in that booklet. It's available in many forms. I think you'll find it interesting.
Thank you, Anthony. And I think there's a verse too that says, even the memory of them perishes. So we won't even
Yes.
remember those who have
No.
been burned up totally and
Yes.
destroyed in Gehenna. And that
Yes.
happens after at the great white throne judgment after the millennium.
Well,
That's
there is a Gehenna, of course, too, at the second coming. The
right.
lake of fire appears at the second coming. It appears again, certainly, in the judgment of all the rest of the dead. You're absolutely right. But the beast and the false prophet are said to be thrown alive into the lake of
Mm-hmm.
fire at the second coming. So there's a warning there. Gehenna is available for some especially wicked people. But the point is, this is not eternal torment. God, I don't think,
Mm-hmm.
is in the business of torturing consciously anyone. Even the devil himself, I think, will be destroyed, put out of commission eventually.
Yes, and
Okay.
so I think that was clear about the difference between Gehenna and
Yes.
Hades, the
Yes.
grave, or the
Yes.
destruction with fire. And unfortunately,
Absolutely.
like you said, in English they translate it just hell, so a lot of people are confused. So
Very
hopefully
confusing.
our listeners are no longer confused
That's right.
about that.
Yes.